Welcome to the Next Gen podcast. This is Pastor Blake, our Waukesha campus youth pastor. So excited to be with you today. And I have two very special guests. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hey, I'm Bruce McCarty, Blake's dad.
That is my dad.
And I'm Janet McCarty, Blake's mom.
That's my lovely mother. And they are joining us today on the podcast. And I wanted to have Rex in here with us. And if you don't know, Rex is my son. He's 3 weeks old today. We could have had 3 generations, but they're up seeing him, hanging out with us, and I thought it'd be fun to have him on our Next Gen podcast today for the parents at Bridge Church and anyone else who's listening. We'd love to know who you are too, but excited for a little conversation today. I already told him no embarrassing stories. Don't make me look bad. That's kind of the main goal, and we're going to have a fun conversation. Cool?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, we will. It's going to
will.
be great. You guys have raised 3 kids and helped with a few grandkids, correct?
Yeah, we have 6 grandkids now.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about your kids. Obviously, I'm one of them.
Well, our oldest is Lacey, and she is 37.
You don't have to say her age.
Oh,
She probably
okay.
doesn't like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry. Then we have a middle child, Grant. He's 4 years younger.
People
and
forget
then,
about him.
Yeah, he's the kiddo in the middle.
Yep.
Then we have Blake, our baby,
The favorite.
and he is the baby of
Oh, I
the
thought
family.
you were about to say he is
He
the
is
favorite.
my favorite.
I can cut that part out. So you are just saying
Yeah.
he is my favorite.
And he's 5 years younger than the middle one. So
Yes, I am 28,
yes.
I think.
Yeah, there is always a debate among the kids of which one is the favorite. So they've all got their own theories.
Yeah, and let's talk about that real quick. I mean, who's right? Who is the favorite?
You all are the favorite.
That's the wrong answer,
You
Mom.
all are the favorite.
It's not. What would you give advice to parents who their kids are just like, man, why is this one your favorite? There's a debate amongst the siblings. One of them feels slighted. What do you think? What do you say in that moment? If I'm like, Mom, you always buy Grant new clothes. You don't buy me new clothes.
Get over it.
You say get over it? Take a hike, kid.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much you try to make sure you treat them all fair and even and equal to the best of your ability. But there's also a point in life and learning that some things, sometimes you feel like you're not getting treated fair in life.
Yeah.
And learning to deal with that's not, that's probably a necessary thing. But I think the key is to make all of them feel individual and loved as much as you can, which we try to do. And I think all of you turned out pretty well balanced in the end.
Yeah, I mean, we're all adults. We're all just doing our own things and doing pretty good, I would say, from that standpoint. But plenty of life left, you know?
Yeah.
Don't call us good yet. We got more life to live. Never know what's going to happen.
It's true.
So you guys navigated, I mean, different. We were pretty spread out in age. You
3
had-
kids in 9 years.
Yeah. So you had Lacey, who essentially went to college when I was like in 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting for me. I remember she got married her freshman year of college,
Sophomore.
year, 19. And someone had asked me, oh, she's 20? Oh, sorry, Lacey. And she had asked me, or someone at church had asked me, Dad, you're a pastor. I grew up as a pastor's kid at church. Mom, you're a teacher, and so I got to grow up going to your elementary school, which was a lot of fun. And someone at church asked me after Lacey went to college, you remember this?
I do remember this.
What'd they say?
What's it like being at home without Lacey? And he says, we never were that close anyway.
We never were that close. We did
Broke
we
your
fight?
sister's heart.
Did we fight that much?
No.
No.
Just because we were probably so far apart in age.
Yes.
Was there any disagreements you can remember?
Oh, and I think anytime you have 3 kids, it's kind of inevitable that 2 will gang up on the one, and because you were
Which 2
because
ganged
you
up
were
on
the
the one?
youngest and you were babied, you would say quickly that Lacey and Grant picked on you.
You know what they used to do to me?
Typically in the car.
Yeah, a lot in the car. They would. I was put in the middle in all of our road trips, and they would elbow me back and forth in the car and giggle. And I remember crying is probably not the right word, but yelling out in anger.
Oh,
Mom,
you cried too.
I definitely cried. Dad's just trying to figure out where we're going with directions. The car was
Before GPS.
before GPS. The car was a hotbed of emotions. And I just remember getting so mad, and they would make fun of me and tease me about this one girl, and they would elbow me, and I just would yell, and you would just be like, "They're fine. It's fine, Blake. Get over it." Did you not?
I took up for you more than you remember.
Probably true. I just remember that was miserable.
Yeah.
And then Lacey, anytime we'd go swimming, she'd put her hair over her head and act super creepy. And then she'd would chase me around the house sometimes when you let them babysit me. I think Grant locked me in the bathroom one time because you can push a door up against or a chair up against the door. And I called Dad's office
Again,
from the home phone.
you turned out just fine.
Yeah, praise God that happened. Man, if it wasn't for His grace and mercy on my life, where would I be?
Yeah, those things all build character.
So you didn't have to deal with me and Grant never fought physically.
No.
Grant had a
Grant was
few
twice your
episodes, though.
size, so
Doesn't mean anything. Have you seen him fight before?
yeah, you were scrappy.
He's not the athlete of the family. So talk to me a little bit about parenting throughout the different stages of life. For me, I've talked with a few people about being a dad now and how having a 3-week-old doesn't really feel like parenting because we're not having to have conversations or discipline or setting guidelines or anything like that. So what is it like, maybe if you can remember when we were babies and then just the different stages? I know you have grandkids now that are in some of those stages, and so you get to
Right.
see and reflect back on those things. But what's it like having an elementary student and a middle schooler and high schooler?
Well, it's like I was just having a conversation with some young moms at our church the other day that have kids in, infants, toddlers, elementary age. And I think when you're in it, sometimes you have tunnel vision. That's all you see. And, there's an old adage that says the days are long, but the years are short.
Mhm.
And that is so true. But I was telling them, even in the infant stage, when you're not sleeping and
Yeah.
you don't know what you're doing and why are they crying, I would go back and do all of it all over again.
Really?
I would.
That's why you're here now.
Because I loved being a mom.
Yeah.
We loved being parents. And we were married almost 3 years. No, over 3 years when we had Lacey, but I was still young.
Yeah.
And I would love to
16?
go. No. 22. Thank you very much. I would love to get a do-over because I feel like I have so much more wisdom now,
Yeah.
and things that I stressed about in the moment, I would let a lot of stuff go now.
Really?
Yeah. But I loved every phase. I
Yeah.
loved the baby stage, the toddler stage. I loved the elementary stage.
Right.
And when people say, "Oh, watch out for teenagers," I loved your teenage years. I loved all your friends. I loved the school events that we got to go to. I loved when you went to college. Well, I didn't love when you went to college, but I loved meeting your college friends and just sharing in those experiences. And really, when you all finished those
Like transitional
Yes,
times
yes,
in your
thanks.
life for the different stages that you
I
go
kind of
through.
mourned them.
Yeah,
I missed
right.
I missed each one. And when you were the last one, so when you graduated from college, you never stopped being a parent. And that's what I told you when Rex was born
Right.
3 weeks ago. I said it never ends. It doesn't matter if he's 3 or 33. You will always be his dad.
Yeah.
And you will always care, and you will worry, and you will, you'll always speak into his life no matter how old he is. It just looks a little bit different.
Sure.
But I kind of went through a little bit of mourning when you graduated from college, because it was like, I'm done, You're 22 and you were the last one, and
Yeah.
it's over. But it isn't over.
Right. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
still my mom.
Yeah, I think one of the big keys, I think, is consistency. No matter what age they are, what transition part they're in, there are going to be some different applications to the way you deal with them at different ages. But there has to be, first of all, like a foundation of love, appreciation, respect for them. There are times where at all of those different ages of growing up where your kid may not make the best decision. And as a parent, you got to try to figure out, is this one that I intervene on and help them from making a big mistake, or is this one I let them learn through and grow through? And I think the consistency of just thinking about getting it right,
Yeah.
helping them, letting them experience life on their own, because the goal of parenting is to raise up kids that become independent and strong. And and now we have 3 grown kids, all with their own kids now, and the cool thing for me is that we still all love being together,
Right.
And we love hanging out together.
We'll see after our beach vacation when 14 of
We'll
us
let
are
you
in
know
a condo.
after June
Coming up
if
next
we still
month.
like being
Yeah.
all together. So kind of what I hear you saying, Dad, is like pick your battles a bit.
Yeah.
You know, they're gonna do dumb stuff or make decisions that maybe you wouldn't have made, but they're not life or death decisions.
Yeah, and I think even terminology, it's the right thought, but I think to not look at it as a battle, but to look at it as just parenting. How am I helping them get to the right place? There may be points of conflict where there is some aspect of battle that's there, but as a parent, I always try to look at it, how can I bring improvement? How can I bring help? And if we have a different opinion, how do we work through that?
Yeah.
So I learn and they learn too. I mean, we can both learn in situations.
It's like we were talking before we started this. There's a balance for everything. After teaching elementary school for 20 years, I had one side, the helicopter mom, and they did everything for the kid. And, we all knew you did this science project. This was not your 8-year-old. You did it all. And then you had the kid or the parent who never checked the kid's backpack for months, and they were totally hands off and uninvolved. So I just think you have to find that balance.
Yeah, I like the way you kids always had me do your art projects because.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I remember specifically one time I had to do a science project, and it was literally the next day. It was supposed to be due the next day. And I came up to you, Mom, and I was like, hey, I got to do a science project for the science fair or something. And you're like, okay, when is it? And I was like, tomorrow. And you're like, what? And it was like, all right, let's figure this out. But you had me figure it out, and we tested stain remover on different stains.
I remember.
Yeah, I remember this too. And I just remember that being like, well, sorry, but I need your help with this. And you did help me. You weren't just like, who cares? But you also didn't just do it for me. You made me figure it out and do it with your guidance. So that's funny. What else? What other parenting nuggets? Did you guys ever talk about like your parenting philosophy? Did you guys ever have conversations about like, here's how we want to be?
No,
as parents?
remember we were young when we started, and we were both also the baby of the family, and pretty much everything was done for us growing up. But
yeah, I think whatever works for people is good, and I think we have a tendency in just our culture overall to try to find a pattern to mimic or model, and you've got to put everything through your filter. Often I'll say to the staff at my church, learn from everybody, but don't copy anybody. And I think that's a real good bit of advice. So for me, parenting, it was a lot more organic than it was calculated. It was just who we are and our values that we have. I think if anybody would have asked any of you 3 kids, what do your parents value? What do they think's important in life? I think all of you could have given answers pretty quick.
Yeah.
But we never had that specific conversation point about those topics. It's just something you try to live out every day.
Sure. So your approach was more like we're going to model kind of the stuff we want our kids to see and to emulate.
And I think going back to like something we mentioned just a minute ago, sometimes when you get caught in the heat of battle, you can see people as an enemy. And, so here's the pastor side of me coming out. To the best of my ability, I refuse to see anybody as my adversary except the devil. That's his name in the Bible, and that's who he is, what he does. And I think if you can see your children as a blessing that God's put in your life to nurture, and some take a lot more nurture than others do. And we were very blessed that all 3 of you guys were pretty easy to parent. It wasn't hard. I do know there are parents that have children that are very, very difficult to parent, and I would just still encourage them, work on having the right attitude every day as a parent, to see that child as someone that you love and you're trying to help. And, something, again, on a spiritual note that I've prayed for several years now on a daily basis, and actually often more than once a day, I pray for wisdom, and I pray for God to help me get it right. That's sometimes when I'm facing a situation that's kind of a quick
Yeah.
brewing situation. I'll pray, God, help me get this right today.
Yeah.
And I think that really helps in parenting too, especially.
Yeah. I think there's definitely times we don't get it right.
Yeah.
How do you respond in those moments of like, man, as parents, you want to do all the right stuff, and then your kid does something really goofy or says something to you that just pushes your buttons, and then you respond out of frustration in those moments. But what advice would you give a parent that maybe has dropped the ball and now they're beating themselves up over it?
Well, we all have done it. So number one, you've got to give yourself some grace.
Amen, sister.
You're so crazy. I think that, you just, it's like we've been talking about, you're honest and you keep open communication with your kids and you let them know I'm not perfect and I'm going to make mistakes and I've done things that I wish I could have a do-over on, and you're not afraid to say, I'm sorry. I didn't get it right that time.
Yeah, I think another thing with that, as much as possible, explaining when you can. And that doesn't always fit every situation every time. But just saying, no, because I said so, should not be the go-to. There are times you may have to use that. But I think the more you can explain why you made a decision or why you think a certain thing, the more it helps them to develop in their ability to be creative in their thinking too and understand better.
Yeah, I'm going to start trying that with Rex. Just be like, hey, man, you need to sleep because it's going to help everybody. You're going to be happier. We're going to be happier.
Let me know how that works out for
good
you.
Luck.
We'll see if he gets it. Any final closing thoughts today? It's so much fun having you guys here doing this podcast. I really enjoy it. I know we talked before this too about setting guide rails, kind of letting kids make their own mistakes or to a healthy level. I mean, don't go crazy with it.
I think the guardrails in life are pretty much, love on one side, I guess, and on the other side is realistic expectations of behavior. Sure. From my dad, and hopefully for you guys from me, I never wanted to disappoint my dad. I always knew what the expectation of behavior was, and I wanted to stay in that lane. And part of that was because the other side of the guardrail, or the other side of the road, that guardrail was one of love, where I knew that he always appreciated me, always, I was the pride of his life, as were my two brothers. So let your kids know you're proud of them as much as you can. I would really encourage trying to solve problems before they happen. Prevention's better than cure, rather than try to fix a problem after it's there. You can't always do that, but work ahead in the game of what you want more than just trying to fix things.
Great.
Yeah.
Good?
I'm good.
You're good. Yeah, and I think ultimately we're all going to mess up. Parenting is hard, and the more we can choose to have grace for ourselves, the more we can choose to really kind of just probably be humble in it all and understand that none of us are experts in this. We're all trying to figure it out. We're all trying to love on our kids the best we can, and parent the best we can, be the biggest advocate for them, and show them that they are loved.
Yeah, we can't go back and change the past, but we can shape the future. And I think a goal of just trying to always keep improving in life that's a good goal for every aspect of life, but especially in parenting. Be a better parent tomorrow than I am today, and make that your goal.
And this might sound cliche, but it's the truth.
Say it, Mom. Speak the truth.
No, it's like your dad just said. We don't say, just because I said so, you can't do that because I said so. I think we take every opportunity and we point them to the Word of God.
Yeah.
And we explain, we do these things because, of our love for God and His love for us. And, we show them the way. We point them in the right direction, and we hope that they will fall in love with Jesus and read His Word and, follow Him.
Yeah, and I'm sure we could talk for a long time about just the different students you guys have discipled, mentored, different parents that you've had conversations with. Ultimately, I think this summed it up pretty good. You guys are huge supporters of people and have done a ton for people and for me, and so I really do appreciate both of you as parents. You guys are awesome. I love you both. Hey, I'm proud of both of you. I want
We
to
love you,
let
Blakey.
you know that.
You're one of our 3 favorites.
You can say I'm number 1.
You're my favorite baby.
Let's be honest. Grant and Lacey are not listening all the way to the end of this anyway. They probably stopped halfway through, if they even selected it. I'm the favorite. Everyone knows it. Thank you so much for joining us. And we will be taking a break for the summer. So this is the last Next Gen podcast, potentially until August or September. Just keep tuning in. We'll see. Have a great week.